What if I told you that artificial intelligence, trained on thousands of ancient languages, dialects, and biblical scripts, has just decoded a message lost for over 1,500 years? A message hidden not in the Vatican, not in some sealed scroll, but beneath layers of Byzantine dust, in Galilee, where the story of Jesus and Peter began. It started with a forgotten mosaic, long buried beneath centuries of sediment near the Sea of Galilee. Originally dismissed as decorative stonework from a crumbled Byzantine church, the fragment was recently rescanned using advanced multispectral imaging. But what the human eye missed, AI saw instantly. Lines of ancient Greek, sharp as if etched yesterday, suddenly came to life. And in them, a phrase that's sending shockwaves through theological circles. A direct reference to Peter, not merely as a disciple, but as the chief of the apostles, entrusted with the keys to heaven itself. This wasn't just another inscription. It was a digitally resurrected command, a divine endorsement, possibly even Jesus' own words. For centuries, the Church has debated Peter's true role. Was he a symbolic figure, or the rightful foundation of authority? Now, a 1,500-year-old message, resurrected by code and machine learning, might finally tip the scales. Why hasn't this gone viral? Why are key institutions silent? Because if what the AI decoded is real, it could rewrite the blueprint of Christianity itself. If you're ready to uncover the truth they tried to bury, hit like, subscribe, and let's decode it together. The discovery that shook the ground wasn't found with a shovel. It was unlocked with code. Because every once in a while, technology doesn't just inform us, it confronts us. And this is one of those moments. For centuries, scholars have wrestled with one unanswered question. Where exactly was Bethsaida, the town that raised three of Jesus' closest followers, Peter, Andrew, and Philip? John 1:44 leaves no ambiguity. Now Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. But maps, ruins, and tradition told conflicting stories. Generations of archaeologists combed Galilee's northern shore, but nothing conclusive ever surfaced. That is, until a buried Byzantine church, unearthed in El Araj, was digitally reanalyzed using AI-driven multispectral imaging. What once appeared as weathered stone fragments was digitally reconstructed with stunning clarity. Algorithms trained on thousands of Greek inscriptions highlighted one specific section of a mosaic that had gone unnoticed. The decoded phrase was more than familiar. It was explosive. Peter wasn't just named as a disciple. The AI's translation confirmed a title: Chief of the Apostles, Keeper of Heaven's Keys. This exact phrasing mirrored Matthew 16:19, Jesus' own words, now preserved not in parchment, but in tile and time. But until machine learning sharpened the image, most experts believed the floor too damaged to interpret. Now, those digital enhancements revealed crisp coin Greek lines, so intact, so precise, it seemed like they'd been engraved yesterday. As if time hadn't weathered them, just hidden them. And suddenly, it wasn't just about Peter. It was about proof. Proof of the town. Proof of the church. Proof that early Christians revered Bethsaida not as a mythic place, but as a literal home base for Jesus' closest allies. Dr. Stephen Notley, who led the original El Araj excavation, expressed awe at what the digital tools had revealed. It's not just a mosaic, it's confirmation of Peter's legacy, the town's identity, and the early church's understanding of authority, he said. Even Dr. Craig Evans, one of the world's foremost scholars on the historical Jesus, called it a breakthrough in both theology and archaeology. But to understand how AI untangled a 1,500-year-old mystery, we need to ask, why did Bethsaida disappear in the first place? And why would anyone want this message buried? The answers might change everything you thought you knew. Bethsaida, the house of the fishermen. Once a thriving village along the Sea of Galilee, its name echoed in Aramaic as the birthplace of Peter, Andrew, and Philip. A town of miracles, where the blind were healed, loaves multiplied, and Jesus himself walked nearby on water. And yet, it vanished. Vanished from history. Vanished from the New Testament. Vanished from memory. Jesus didn't just bless Bethsaida, he cursed it. Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the miracles done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented. After that, the town disappears, almost as if erased. For centuries, the faithful searched. Medieval pilgrims wandered with only legend to guide them. Scholars debated endlessly. Was it Et Tel? Too far inland? Too little Roman evidence? No signs of a fishing economy? No Peter? And then came the shift, not just in archaeology, but in technology. Post-1967, after the Six-Day War reopened the region, attention turned toward El Araj, a site far closer to the Galilee's edge. Fragments emerged, pottery, coins, mosaics, but it was the AI-aided scans, from 3D reconstruction to hyperspectral imaging, that would finally uncover what the naked eye could not. Under years of dust, a mosaic pattern began to form. It was digitally enhanced, refined, and run through deep learning models trained on ancient Greek ecclesiastical texts. And what AI found wasn't just decoration, it was a proclamation, a name, a title, and a message once buried, now decoded. Peter, referred to explicitly as the chief of the apostles and holder of the keys to the heavenly spheres. The words glowed in pixel-perfect clarity after centuries of decay, digitally sharpened and authenticated using neural pattern comparison. And then, cross-validation. The 8th century writings of Bishop Willibald, once dismissed as medieval fantasy, described a church dedicated to Peter and Andrew in this exact region. The floor plan, the layout, the prayers, it all matched. Even Pope John Paul II, during a flyover of the region in the early 2000s, was presented with a replica of a bronze key found on site. It wasn't just symbolic, it was prophetic, a foreshadowing of what modern algorithms would soon confirm. This was the church. This was Peter's legacy. And this was the missing link theology forgot. By 2018, the site had revealed Roman tools, coins, and early Christian infrastructure, bathhouses, guest chambers, even remnants of a Byzantine basilica. But none of that compared to what the AI decoded in the inscription's geometric frame. A prayer for Constantine, likely a local patron, and a reverent naming of Peter that echoed the Gospel's most controversial verse. Upon this rock, I will build my church. This wasn't just archaeology. This was AI resurrecting belief. And what the church once silenced, the code now speaks. Beneath centuries of Galilean mud, beneath seasonal floods and forgotten war zones, a sacred structure slept, buried by time, preserved by providence. It waited in silence while empires collapsed and theology evolved, hidden as if it were waiting for the one generation capable of deciphering its full meaning. That generation, United States. And the breakthrough didn't come from a dusty scroll. It came from digital vision. In 2016, traditional excavation began at El Araj, but soon archaeologists hit something unexpected. Not just stone, but structure. A Byzantine church built atop Roman ruins, layered like a vertical timeline, a cathedral rising from the dirt. Its story finally readable, not because we dug deep, but because we scanned deeper. This wasn't just a church. AI-assisted imaging revealed what the human eye couldn't fully comprehend. An entire pilgrimage complex, a bathhouse, monastic guest quarters, and sacred floor mosaics once used by worshippers over 1,000 years ago. But the true miracle? The text. 3 Greek inscriptions, digitally cleaned and sharpened through deep learning text restoration, revealed a hidden liturgical bombshell. 2 were fragmentary, but 1, crystal clear, almost defiant in its precision. Within a tessellated circular mosaic frame, the AI decoded the following inscription. The whole work of paving the diaconicon with mosaic was done by the zeal of Constantine, servant of Christ, for the chief of the apostles and holder of the keys of the heavenly spheres, Saint Peter, intercede for him and his children. This wasn't metaphor. It was theology, codified in stone, preserved through time, and decoded by machine. Peter wasn't simply acknowledged, he was declared the chief. Not one of many, but the one. Not a disciple, a steward of heaven. The language wasn't poetic, it was legal, liturgical, hierarchical. The phrasing directly echoes Matthew 16:19. I will give you the keys, and harks back even further to Isaiah 22:22, where keys symbolize royal succession and unsharable authority. For centuries, scholars debated Peter's role. Was it symbolic or supreme? Now, AI had dug up theology buried in pixels and stone, and it confirmed what early Christians really believed. Even more incredible? The words mirrored the writings of an 8th-century bishop named Willibald, who claimed to have visited Bethsaida in 725 AD. His account described a church by the water, dedicated to Peter and Andrew, with guest lodging for pilgrims. For decades, scholars scoffed, called it folklore.